Okay, so this is what I have so far, and I think I did a couple of pours on this. When I started, well, first I did the drawing, and I can see my lines, even though I don't think you can see them. If I hold it closer, you can see some pencil lines. I did sort of a really quick, rough drawing, not real detailed, so I could get some of the main areas. And I started by doing a very light wash of a pour of yellow first, and I poured the yellow in these areas that have the, according to the photo, have yellow in them. I poured it in the places where there would be the green limbs that come out at the top, and poured it in all of this area where there's the wood. Then I poured the red on top of it, and I used, let's see, where's that little thing I used? I have this, it's like from a veterinarian, you know, for cat medication. I used one of these to drop that in different places. I might have used this. This is an applesauce container. But I put on the red next, and then I put the blue up in here. And it looks like it doesn't really show that there was a light blue when I first did the part up in the sky, but I'm pretty sure I didn't paint the, I painted the frisket on after my first pour. I don't think I did any masking start with. Does anybody recall now if I did the masking first? I thought I did a pour first.
I think you did the pour first.
Yeah, I think I did. And then you can't really see color underneath this masking, but I think there's a very light blue because if you look in the photo, it's kind of a light blue. So, I did that first, and then I put it outside and let it dry. And it dried pretty fast, actually. And then I came in. The next thing I did was frisket, the sky areas. And I couldn't really see exactly where everything went, so I just went with the feeling of these palm fronds, and did another pour with darker color. And then I ended up with what's called a bloom or a blossom down here. And I think it's okay though, because I was just looking at my drawing. And there are some areas in here that are have little fine hairs that are that color. So my plan now is to frisk it out some of those areas with my fine line masking fluid. And these little, there are these little spiky points in this area on some of these pieces of wood. I want to mask those out. And you see how there's also some green that occurred when I mixed some more blue with the yellow? I think I'll go ahead and mask some of that out. Technically, I should do a pour first to make it a little more yellow in this area. But I'll see as I go. I'm going to start off. I'm going to do a little more drawing right here because I see an area where I probably would forget as I'm putting on the masking where to actually apply it. So at this point, what I have is a couple of pours, and I'm happy with the basic feel of it, and I probably will end up doing a couple more pours, but then I do plan to do some brush work also. Any other questions about that now before I start adding the masking?
I love the way it's coming out.
Yeah, I'm happy with it so far. I hope it doesn't end up like the one I did at the marina when I was in Kathy's class, where I just, I kept going. I didn't, I wasn't using much restraint at all. I think that happens sometimes when you're just starting something new. So I'm going to add water now to my paint, and um, well, I'll wait and do that after I've done the masking because I want to get some of this masked before. I want to preserve these lighter yellows that I see in the photo, so I'll get the masking and do that right now. And I'm going to use this to start with. Hopefully it'll work now. Need my glasses to see. Okay. And I'm going to even mask this whole shape that I see here. So I'm going around the shape with my masking tool. And then some more in here. I love the texture of some of this. Uh-oh, a big blob came out. And I don't really want to get rid of it. I hope some of that texture will show through if I do a little bit of a glaze or something. There are these little fibers and filaments here and there, and I think those are really neat, so I'm going to try to preserve some of those too. There's some lighter shapes in here too that I want to keep fairly light. Oh, I already see an area I made a mistake, so I'm going to have to rub that frisket off.
You can rub off frisket without just smearing it where you don't want it.
Well, I took off the major part, and then when it's dry, I'll rub it off before I paint. You know what I'm discovering is that this is like drawing. You know, using this is actually, it is, it's like instead of using a pencil to help define some of these edges, I'm using my masking fluid. And because it does take a little while for some of the pores to dry, you could start another painting from one of the images too if you want to, just so you could have a couple things to work on. If you have the paper handy.
I got a text message from the Santa Barbara City College. It was an alert. It says that Santa Barbara City College is taking part in the Great California Shakeout Drill occurring now. Please participate by doing the following: drop, take, cover, and hold on. So I guess they're trying to let us know what we should be doing if there's an earthquake, I guess.
Yeah,
Everybody
I got
get
it
that?
too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did, but
I
I
didn't know.
decided because we weren't in the classroom that we weren't obligated to do it.
Good.
But
Yeah.
if we were in the classroom, as some of you recall, I did it when we had it, even though not everybody did. I did it just because, you know, I've got to be a good example being the teacher.
Oh, yeah. I don't I don't remember ever getting a text message, but I guess that's what they're doing now since we're not in class.
Mm.
Well, I signed up for that. It's something you sign up for, isn't it? Do you sign up for the
I guess
alerts?
I guess so, because um, I think it was last year there was some kind of a raid over at the high school by the Wake Center, the Santa Barbara High School over there, whatever it's called, I forget, San Marcos High School. They thought there was a shooting, and
Yeah,
so they had a lockdown at the Wake Center one morning, and I think that's when I signed up for those alerts.
right.
I
I remember.
remember I was there. That was kind of scary. Nobody leave the classroom.
Right, exactly.
That's one thing about the COVID. We're not having any of those kind of scares right now.
I was lucky.
I agree. The shootings aren't happening in the schools.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how things change, won't it? If we get back to normal. I shouldn't say if, we will get back to more of a normal at some point.
Yes, exactly. I think we're all enjoying being at home and not driving
Well, that's
every week to class.
You know, that's true. And I was even talking to Ken about that. I mean, I think it'd be kind of good if they could have a couple of choices for people. If you want to go to class, you could, but maybe there could be also an online version of the class.
I like that. I could
Yeah,
never.
Be good for you too, Sylvia, to have that option.
Yeah.
it would be. Then I wouldn't have to get up as early. I was thinking just a couple days ago, oh, it's so dark. I would be driving already if it were, in the classroom. I'd be on my way already.
I think it's just as good, at least my experience.
We
Okay,
can see the close-ups better.
Yeah,
there
I
are some
like
advantages, aren't there?
I like it.
I know you're not required to record videos, but I think that really adds to the whole experience.
Yeah.
Well, and it occurred to me if something should happen, like if I were to get ill or something, I'd have those videos that I could have people watch,
True.
especially people who haven't taken the class before.
Right.
Okay, so I've done this masking. Now, where's my lid? This is an issue I have, is putting things down and then not remembering where I put them.
You know that.
Oh, that.
Yeah,
Hold on.
that's not good when it's masking fluid, the fine line masking fluid lid. Okay, I think this is it. Yeah. But I
I
also,
did that with my heated eraser. I bought one off of Jerry's and promptly, I don't know what happened to it. I had to order another one.
kneaded erasers, I've lost a few when I'm out painting because if they fall on the ground, they look like a rock.
Yeah, they're pretty small.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a few places where I still want to do larger areas of masking. So there are some blobs, and maybe I could take my brush. Oh, I do need to get my soap. I forgot to put soap on my spatter, my toothbrush the other day, and before I mask. So I'm going to get my soap and put soap on my brush first. I'll be right back. Okay, so I just got some soap off of my kitchen sink because I don't know where my other little one is. And they say to mix up your masking fluid first, so I just use the end of a brush to do that. And then clean it off right away. And I'm masking off areas that are yellow, lighter yellow. Some of the tips here of the wood. Some of these places where I got a little thick with my masking too, I'm going to just dip in some of that and use that. Okay. And some of the colors are not exactly right. Here, what I'm looking at are the values more. So where I want it to be light, I'm masking those areas because I can come in and glaze the color a little bit later if I decide to. Okay. And I'm going to also paint with my brush, some of the broader areas down in here that I think are beautiful color the way I have it. I sure hope with this rough paper that it won't lift my paint off when I take off the frisket. I haven't done this before, so we'll find out.
Your colors look like abalone shells.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
It's really neat to see what happens when you do this technique, how things kind of blend together in ways that you wouldn't imagine.
Yes.
Sylvia, when you did your pours, were the colors a lot darker and more saturate than what they
Yeah,
look like?
yes, they were. A good observation. They certainly were. And I think the more I do this type of thing, the more I will become a little braver and get darker at the beginning. You know, I think it is more tedious if you have to do more layers. So I do believe you could. I noticed that she did do a few pours, you know, between maskings. She would look at it again, and then she would decide if she needed to pour some more before she masked again. So that was a good idea. Okay, now to see if I've actually covered, I have to go like this with my board so I can look at the shiny areas and see if I actually covered where I wanted it to be with masking. And I'll do just a little bit on the palm fronds up or the green part up here because there are some areas that I really like the color the way it is. But there's some where I think it needs a little more yellow also.
Sylvia, do you still have masking on the background? Or did you remove that?
I do have masking on the background because I don't want the pour to go into the sky.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I found that even if you're using a block, your paper curls some and it cools color.
Well, that was a problem I started having with this because I am using a block. And so that's one reason I got this area right down here, because when it started to dry, it settled into that area.
Yeah.
It turns out that, that might be okay just because of the design of the image here.
I like it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
You know,
I'm
one
using
thing, go ahead.
I'm using my finger like that other woman did.
Oh, you are? Okay, with your masking? Or with your paint, you mean?
With my paint.
Oh, is it fun?
Yeah. Makes it easy. Make it go where you want it.
Yeah, cool.
I missed that. What are you using?
My finger.
Oh, okay.
I keep knocking. I'm having my paints in little medicine cups and they're very tipsy.
That's a good idea, though.
Popsicle sticks and
Yeah.
well, hard to manage.
Okay, I'm finished with the masking now. I'm going to clean off my brush with soap. And I've shown you before, this is how I clean my brush. Because I learned this in school, even when you're cleaning paint off your brush, it gets the paint off of the part of your brush that's close to the ferrule. So it really keeps your brushes a lot cleaner. It looks like it might be harmful, but it's not if you have a good brush. Okay, I'm just going to see now if there's wet areas here where it blobbed out. All right, now I'm going to add water to my paint. And I'm just going to use a big brush to do that. I had an eyedropper, but it turned out that the rubber was stiff and it wouldn't really do anything. I think it must be a really old eyedropper. And yeah, a popsicle stick would be good for mixing the paint up. I don't think I brought one in here.
I have a big box of them.
I'm going to go get one. I've been eating those frozen fruit bars, in the hot weather, so I have a bunch. Be right back. So I learned how to do more editing on the videos now, so I'll be able to cut out some of the parts that are where I get up and go away and that kind of thing. And then I learned how to put a title on. Yeah, very slowly but surely I'm learning how to do those things.
It's always fun to learn something new.
You are our inspiration, Sylvia, when it comes to being a, as my husband calls it, a tech weenie.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm one of those people that will not give up. And Michael, my daughter, and I joke because when my ex-husband said to me, I was trying to move a queen-size mattress into his bedroom so he could have, when she moved, she could have he could have her good queen mattress. He said, it won't go in there, it won't go around the corner. And I said, watch me. And I got it in there,
This
Yeah.
is what we love about you, your tenacity.
Michael laughs because if somebody tells me I can't do something, that's a real challenge, Like driving a truck for the post office. That's what I did after I left Hallmark. It's so absurd because they couldn't believe me that I would move back to California and drive a truck at the post office instead of working as an artist at Hallmark. But I was really scared to drive a big truck. But I decided that if a man can do it, I can do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's an inspiration.
And then when I bought the house on Vashon Island, the whole upstairs was just a real mess. There were even rats living, up in the attic. And so I tore out a lot of those old boards and cleaned it up. And my friend Mitzi showed me how to use a saw to cut a board, a chop saw. And I decided I was going to remodel the upstairs myself. So every morning I would get a cup of tea and I would go up there and I would stand there and look at the saw and imagine that I was cutting boards. And eventually I got the courage to do it, and I furred out the whole upstairs and put insulation in and put in, sheetrock. I was all by myself, so I had to put a big piece of sheetrock on my back and back up to the wall, and with a 2x4 prop it up so I could grab my, it was like one of those cordless screwdrivers and screw it onto the wall. But I did it.
Wow.
Yay.
Yeah.
You were way ahead of your time, Sylvia, because now there are online, all these YouTube programs about young women who are doing things like this, renovating farms in Tennessee and setting up furniture making factories in some other place. I mean, you were just way ahead of your time.
Well, let's put it this way. I didn't have very much money to hire anybody. Yeah. But, my dad used to do stuff like that. He built 3 houses during the time we were growing up while he had a full-time job.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes, right. Okay, so I think I've got things mixed up the way I want them. And the first pour is usually the yellow, so I'm going to start with the yellow. And I think I've got it pretty well mixed up. Hopefully there's no big chunks in there, but we'll find out if there are. And I've got my under the bed box here. It's like a big container that I'll be dripping everything into. And I put something on the floor just in case I have a mess up. So now looking at the image, I'm going to pour. Oh, you know what? Before I pour, I have to wet the whole surface, remember?
Right.
Good thing I didn't forget that. Now I don't really go over it as much as what she showed because I know if I disturb the pigment, it's going to lift, and I don't want to do that. So I'm putting a good amount of water on, but I'm not going to go over it and over it and over it like I saw. That part scared me when she did that. And I love this big brush. It's one of these big 2-inch brushes, or yeah, 2 or 2.5 inch. When I graduated from graduate school, I treated myself to a big flat brush and a big round brush. Okay, so I think I'm ready. And I've got paper towel handy. The reason you've got that is, see, I've got already some puddling. I want to make sure that I don't have a lot running off the edge before I'm ready to pour, so I'm wiping that up. Okay, so with my yellow, I'm going to start pouring here. I'm going to confine it to some of this lower area right here. And I am going to use my fingers, spread it around a little. And then I want to get a little bit up in here where I have some of the foliage. And it is neat where you can just sort of drag your fingers over the part that you want to be yellow. Okay, so now I'm going to do a little bit of the red. You know, on this one, I'm going to use this little eyedropper thing because I don't really want it to go as far as I did the yellow. Oops, so it's starting to drip. Let me pour some of the yellow off.
Wow, the colors are beautiful.
Because I have some masking on, now it's kind of, you know, creating its own edges.
What color red is that, Sylvia?
This is permanent rose. I started with Rose Madder Genuine on the very first part of the painting, but it was really thin and wasn't really covering as much as I wanted. So for this, I thought I would try something a little bit more vibrant.
Okay, great.
Okay, now I'm going to pour it off. Clean the edges of my tape. Let's see, I see some up here I want to do a little more too. I'm looking at the areas that are dark too, because some of these areas that are really dark will end up being a mixture of all three primaries.
The video you showed us, I really liked her approach to recognizing, I think it was values.
Yeah,
by
with the
printing
black
it
and
in-
white. Yeah, the black and white. I thought that was pretty fascinating to see how she had that image so that she could refer to
Yeah,
it.
that was
This image is a great application of the technique.
Let's see here. I'm trying to figure out my drawing. Okay, I think I'll use my fingers a little bit here too. Okay, I think I'm missing one part of the drawing that I don't think I frisketed. Okay. Okay. I'm going to pour some of this red off now.
I've even dipped my finger into the pour off paint.
You know, I thought what she said too about, the paint that collects in your container can be used for a really nice gray
Yeah.
because it mixes together. And so, it's kind of a neat thing. All right, now I'm ready to pour a little bit of blue, and I guess this is the same thing. I should use my eyedropper for that.
that was beautiful.
It looks pretty intense right now. I'm going to hope that it does dull down a little bit when it dries.
The eyedropper is good too, or whatever that is you're using.
Yeah, you can sort of control what's happening with it.
Instead of just a big pour.
Yeah. Okay, so now I think what I'll do is I'm going to just do one more pour and take it outside and let it dry. And there's actually not much to pour. It's really absorbing.
And you said that you were using cobalt, were you, for the blue?
Yes. Oh, I see one area I do want to make a little darker. It's right over in here in this section. So I think I'm going to go back and do the process of, I want it to be fairly dark, so I'm going to start with just a little yellow. I'm going to drop some yellow into a few other places too, like what she did at the end, because you know the yellow is something that tends to go away.
This is just beautiful.
It is. I love how it mixes.
Are you painting too? I hope you're having fun.
I am.
Yeah.
Good.
I like how the colors mingle.
So intense.
It'll fade.
Let's see, I see over here a little bit of a area where I need, this might be frisketed. I might have to come back in. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to come back in and paint it later with a brush. Oops, I just squirted some red into my blue.
Go with it.
Yeah, maybe I should suck it up right now before, then I'll have some purple. Okay. I'm really liking what's happening with some of these areas where I'm letting some of the color mix right on the paper.
Gorgeous.
So one of the key things seems to be about the water, and I mean, it's always about the water, but when you laid down the water initially, and that was quite a while ago, and I see that it's still, the paint is still flowing some.
Yeah, I think I had quite a bit of water on there actually.
Yeah. I have a hard time judging how much water to use and when it's getting too dry. And is there a way to add more water in the middle of this process if I need it?
Oh, I suppose you could, like with your eyedropper, squirt a little water on. I don't think you'd want to use a brush.
You could almost use a sprayer, a little spray bottle.
Oh yeah, the spray bottle. I did see a guy doing that. This little spray bottle. There's a video of a guy painting some elephants and showed in the other class, and he did that. Okay, I'm happy, so I'm going to go take it out right now and let it dry. Okay, so it's still pretty bright, and I think I'll do the rest with just a brush, and I'm not going to do it now, obviously, because the class technically has already ended, but let me just get this a little closer so I can sit down. I want to remove the frisket so I can actually see what I've got. And so let's see, I thought I had my rubber cement pickup handy.
Okay.
Here it is. This is quite a bit of frisket on here, actually.
Is it taking off any paint, or is it working how you wanted it to?
It looks like it's working because you see some of what I frisketed was already painted. So for some of the areas that were, it's hard to remove in some of these places though.
Wow, it looks so cool.
I like the effect a lot.
This is incredible.
You think so?
Oh my goodness, that sharp edges. Wow. I think it's gorgeous in combination of color.
I think it worked because you were very articulate with that eyedropper.
Yeah, I think the eyedropper helped. I think having that really does help.
That's why I asked you my very, very first question. As long as I was pouring, bad things were happening. But as soon as I started to use a dropper, it got better.
Okay, good. That means that we both learned something, didn't we?
Yeah, I just want to share it to everyone. So this is my first piece. It's just so embarrassing. I didn't even throw it away just because I wanted to show it to everyone how embarrassing it was after drying. When it was wet, it was okay. It looked like nebula. But now it just looks like embarrassing blob.
Well, I don't think you need to watch me do this whole thing, but you do see what I ended up with. And now going back in with a brush, I can go in and get darker in some of the darker areas. I probably could have done another pour, but I'm actually honestly getting a little tired of pouring.
I agree. It just takes hours and hours and hours.
Sylvia, can you
It
hold
looks
it
beautiful, Sylvia.
close so we can see like what it looks like where you've removed the frisket and the edges?
Yeah, you mean get it a little closer here?
Wow.
So yes,
Amazing.
some of the little details of, I don't know, I'll turn it up in here where I did those little hairs.
That worked really well.
Yeah, I want to get a little darker in some of those areas, so now I'm going to have to do the negative space painting. But I'm happy with it, and I do want to keep working on it. And if I do, I will record it so that I can post it, and you'll have access to it in the YouTube thing. So yeah, I think I've discovered a new technique for myself.
Yeah, I think
That's
it turned
great.
out so beautiful so far.
And I want to see what you guys do too. So if you keep working on it in the next week, please share it with me, okay?
I didn't do one
Okay.
before.
You didn't do one?
No, I haven't tried it yet.
Well, doesn't matter whether it's now or later. Anytime you do it, I want you to share it with me, okay?
Sure.
If you use Frisket, do you have to have that tool?
You mean the one, which tool? The one she used?
The little brush that you're using, that little, like eraser thing. What's it called again?
Oh, it's called a rubber cement pickup. You don't have to have it. You can actually, some of the rubber cement you can take it off with your fingers, and it makes a little ball, and you can actually use the little ball to rub up the rest of it. I've done that before too.
I
just
just
that
normally
it's-
use my fingers because I don't have a pickup yet. But
Yeah, I don't have a pickup either.
yeah,
They're very
use
cheap at the
fingers.
art
Just make
supply
sure
store.
that- Make sure that your hands are clean and make sure there's nothing wet on the paper. Obviously,
Oh,
when
okay.
it's totally dry.
All right.